Alright. Alright, so it's about 3 notes per string versus 4 notes per string versus cage. Alright. So I know a lot of people kind of get into this is the best system. I'm going to do cage all day. I'm going to really tie my scale shapes to my chord playing. Or they get into 3 note per string because economy picking, right? Or really there's one more there. And then there's kind of 4 note per string stuff, like Alan Holder. And if you're dared enough to go really crazy, you can do 5 note per string stuff where you play 2, then you shift. Or, this one's kind of fun. And the main takeaway is kind of like a thinking thing, right? So one thing I like to tell myself is I'd rather have an inclusive system than an exclusive one. Meaning, instead of thinking I'm only going to do cage shapes, right? My arpeggios will be caged. I'll do, instead of, so something like that, right? That's more, kind of comes from the 3 note per string land, in my opinion. But instead of thinking of stuff like that, I want to include it, right? There are times where I really like being able to see the chord shape I play, and then know, the scale around there. Or, and I can see the arpeggio. And then there are times I really like the 3 note per string stuff. It kind of has a certain flow to it, especially with economy picking. Everything's 3 notes per string. It's really uniform. And then there's times I really think the 4 note per string stuff is really cool. Then I kind of break, and the main thing is I kind of take it. There are times I definitely like tying the chord shape to my playing, especially in the chord cage shape system. There are times I don't even like the cage chords. I don't really use the D chord all that much, the shape for at least. And then there are times I don't like a certain, I forget what the actual cage system fingering is, but I kind of do this for my major scale. It's my go-to. Versus. And then I've tried out, the 4 note per string stuff. Whether you shift or you use 1 note per fret. If you do the 1 note per fret thing, I really recommend micro shifts, so you never have 2 fingers on at the same time. You always, you shift the hand as you play. And then, I like that one a lot. And then the 5 note per stuff I kind of got from violin players, where it's kind of like you're out there, but you mix. You can shift before you really reset the hand. And then, oh yeah, 1 second. I'm in here, I'm recording a video. Alright. What else was I gonna say? Let's see. Cage system, 3 note per string, 4 note per string. Oh yeah. So the main takeaway is kind of to blend them. So sometimes I kind of like playing in I call it a half box, right? Where this is really from scale shape. Sometimes I'll play 1 string for it. And then I'll go down. And I'll kind of mix. This is kind of a 3 note per string thing. This is kind of a cage kind of shape. This is 1 note per string playing in the middle there to transition from one part of the neck to the other. And then there are some things that just don't make sense another way. If you're gonna play a 4 octave scale, right? If you're gonna play a scale kind of step. I used to practice that, but what I found was I would kind of have 7 groupings sometimes. So there are times when you play 4 note per scale stuff across 3 octaves, it can get a little weird because you're constantly repeating on a different part. You don't start on the root. You start on the second, then you start on the third, and it gets kind of weird to keep up with. But I really like mixing it, right? So I'll kind of force them. So I might do 4 notes here. One thing I kind of like is actually 2. It's really 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And the thing is, right here, I go into a scale shape that starts with my pinky. Or something kind of like that. I haven't done that in a little bit, but the main thing is that I'm kind of blending things together here because it's kind of awkward unless you kind of do that. Or right here, this is really I really think of this as a 3-note per scale thing, even though we start in pinky. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of like 3-note per scale in my mind, and then I kind of think of this as one string playing. You know, that's kind of like another thing, is that being able to shift continuously on one string and being able to shift over yourself. Like instead of thinking like, oh, I've reached my pinky finger, it's time to shift now, but you can shift before you even get to your pinky finger. And then you can kind of do the same thing with arpeggios, right? Instead of like, you know, always doing box position arpeggios or always having like, you know, a repeatable shape, you can kind of mix them. So like a box arpeggio would be like, and a repeatable shape would be. But you can kind of mix them up. You can even do this. Or let's see something crazy. So instead of this one, so yeah. Then one thing I kind of like to do, and I do this for the A minor arpeggio. There's a couple ways I've done this. So, like this one comes straight from the 4-note scale. Then I do a little triad, kind of like a cage thing. Then I shift. Then one more time. And last, this one's kind of funny. You can do 2-note per scale stuff. And it gets really going kind of backwards. So the main thing is like not having just one way to look at it. Sometimes it's kind of like having a starting point and thinking like, how can I go up in my scale in every direction, right? Like, can I go to this way? Can I stay more positional? Can I go backwards? Or it's kind of weird, like especially like when you have multiple options, and there's like times where you have to like plan ahead, and you can choose while you're playing too, because like you'll have it where like, oh, I'm gonna play like this specific chord shape, or maybe something that can really only be played there. And let's say like we're gonna do some like, you know, maybe like a C major scale ascendance to that, like do 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 da da. Now, I'd probably do that here instead. Then versus like over here, because I have to shift all the way back, right? Just for that chord. So sometimes they're kind of based off what I'm going to be playing, what I already did play. But the real thing is that the flexibility gives you options. It also changes your technique, right? Like sometimes like economy picking, I used to not do. I used to think like, you know, that's kind of like a lame way to pick. I'm gonna get all the articulation, but it's kind of nice because there's like a smoothness to economy picking. Like, I mean, it might be a little better, but, you know. Yeah, it's kind of but, there is like a smoothness to it. It's like the same thing with sweeping versus cross-picking it. Like, the sweeping and the economy picking stuff has a certain tone to it. It's got a certain kind of, style. Certain phrasing and dynamics just by its existence. So sometimes, like, when we play a scale shape, like, I could have swept some of that. Kind of have to break some of my, you know, intuitive thinking there. So, yeah. So, main point of this video, you got cage, you got 3-note per string, 4-note per string, you can even get 5-note per string, you can do 2-note per string, if I get totally insane with it. You can even tap. If I get real crazy with that, you can even use your thumbs if you want. Yeah, I don't do that too much, but sometimes it's got some uses. And the main takeaway is, instead of having a system where we exclude things, say I only do cage, I only do this, my guitar teacher told me that, you take all of them and see what benefit that each one can give you, and you know, what happens if I do that? What's the benefit? Like, oh, I can sweep this now. Or, oh, this is better for string skipping because I do more even pattern numbers, so I don't have to inside string pick as much. Maybe you find that you explore the guitar in a different way. It frees your mind. Like, I think there's a certain thing where if like a fingering is kind of hard, like you kind of have to like force yourself into the fingering, but some things just lend themselves to fingering so easy. It's like, that's why the pentatonic licks are so cool. It's just like it flows into it. Like the fingering is so good. Like if you did that 3 note per string, I don't know if it'd be the same. I never really practiced my pentatonics 3 note per string, but I'm not really into pentatonic playing too much personally. Like I notice like when I do like the tapping stuff sometimes, and if I did this, did it over there, like it kind of makes me think different, especially when I'm tapping like 2 different positions of the guitar. I think like real different. So that's the kind of main takeaway. So something to kind of play around with. Oh, the last thing is kind of like an exercise. So sometimes I would start on a string, right? Or like a note. It'd usually be C here. And I think like, all right, that's the first one, right? It's like kind of the middle ground for me. Then a little bit more to the right. Then maybe even more centered. Start on the middle finger. Start on the pinky. I'm going backwards. Maybe 1 note per string. Even if I don't use some of these, there's some of these shapes I've kind of found that I'm never gonna use. They're just kind of ridiculous. Like one of them would be like triads like this. It's hard because of this. It's this switch back between the pinky and the ring. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see how many ways I could figure this stuff out, and I kind of found that it's kind of weird because you can kind of get endless at it, and at a certain point you gotta choose, what do you want to do here. You can play guitar, you can play music. Sometimes it's more fun to play guitar than music, I think. Depends what you want, but the real thing is like understanding, what happens if I, and then also if I do this, what is there for me. So like, there's something there for you. It's like waiting for you. If you master the cage system, whatever it means to master it, it's kind of like up for you to decide. Or if you get really good at the 3 note per stuff and you know all your modes and you can practice even your pentatonics with 3 note per scale stuff, or if you get into the Allen Holder stuff and you start doing 4 note per string stuff, But I think they're all useful. Like you'll see even Alan Holdsworth, he'll do like 3 note per string stuff like a shit ton. Like you'll see it all over. And then he'll do 4 note per string stuff, and then he'll do weird stuff. Like I think he just kind of threw everything in the kitchen sink together. Which is kind of how I like to look at it. It's kind of like am I a guitar player with my pick or my fingers? Well, I love hybrid picking. Or am I into tapping? But it's like everything, I don't have to limit myself, and I don't have to be like, you don't have to be like great at everything. You can, I think a lot of people can be really great at a lot of things, but they have to kind of choose what they want that thing to be. Like, what do they want to develop? Like, I'm probably, there's a lot of stuff I'll probably never get like too good at because it's just not what I want. It's like if I think about what I really want out there, there's certain things I need to develop to get to that thing. Like, I'm not good at skiing. I'd rather snowboard. Anytime I'm not good at violin. I've thought about a lot of times where I wanted to go play violin, and every time I pick it up, and I'm like, man, I miss the guitar. I just can't help myself. Like every time I spend like a couple minutes, I'm like, man, this is pretty cool, but I'll probably just get a fretless guitar to get like a similar feel, and I love the guitar. Like I can tap on it, you can slide, palm mute, tap, two-handed. Oh yeah, the next video I was thinking about doing is about to be how to, this is a little teaser for it, but playing chords, right? Kind of like that stuff, and then I was gonna do one about like, some Swibert stuff. This is kind of like a fun idea too. And maybe some like to pick with glitch tapping, Alright, well that's it for today. I gotta go do some stuff today. And yeah, I don't think these videos will be the highest quality for a little bit. I think the quality will come over time, but I'm glad to share. And let me know if any of this is kind of useful with, thinking about it. There's also a really cool book called Fretboard Logic that I liked a lot. I wouldn't recommend reading the whole book. I don't think you have to read the whole book for a lot of books. You know, a lot of stuff repeats. Like when I'm reading about how scales work, I'm like, I kind of know, I know the whole stochastic thing, but I want to know what the logic of like, how to organize scales. Not scales as much as patterns, because it's like a guitar only thing. Like how you're gonna logically traverse your way across the guitar fretboard, and you have like so many options. Some of them are kind of useless. Some of them are interesting, and some of them, there's a lot to it. But yeah,